Hello there, and welcome to episode 4 of my tutorial series for Songs of SYX. Today we will finally stabilize the city, go over more new services, play around with trading, and I'm going to explain a few more of these screens here that we see. So, in the last episodes, we have built up our city in a way that we are sustaining ourselves food-wise, we are creating science, we are at the brink of permanent wood creation, or wood production I should rather say, and all in all things are looking quite great for our city. There's only one thing: our food clock is constantly annoying us. While we are producing enough meat and fish per day for sure to bring the people through every day, the fields only sporadically drop food that makes our people happy. That's because Cretonians are what they are. They eat vegetable, fruit, and bread, which makes them happy, and the other foods are just, well, something that you can't eat, I guess. That means their happiness increases with the availability of these goods, and it decreases with the fading away of these goods. So the first thing that we're going to do for today is we're going to make sure that we're not going to suffer from these shortages anymore so often. We're going to set up 3 new import stations. I want to have one import station for fruit, one for veg, and the third one later down the road for grain, as we want to make ourselves some bread, as this is also one favorite food of the Gratonians. We are picking up a couple of workers extra, as we need more hands that get busy here. And I am going to tune down the imports of furniture by a substantial amount, because I don't want all of our money being spent just on furniture when we can easily make that by ourselves. So we gotta wait until these import depots are done. In the meantime, I can quickly go over our services area. As you see, our meters are filling quite nicely, but there's a couple of things that we can still provide that we haven't provided yet. One of them are speakers. These require no technology, and all they do require is workforce. So personally, I'm really sad that I'm not able to put a speaker on the market, but maybe one day we can. Technically you can, you just need to build the market around the speaker, but I'm getting really ahead of myself. We're just putting him down here, and this is one of the cheapest services. You might build that a lot earlier in your city. It's just like there's so much to explain in these episodes. I'm very sorry if some of these features are chronologically a little bit jumbled. I really do my best, but it's hard. This game is very complex, and everything is connected with everything. That's the big problem there, but it also is what makes this game truly awesome. Now, we now have our second import depot, and we are just going to configure this to fruit, and we are going to declare that we always want to have like 120 of these at our disposal. This way we will maintain a stable source of food. We will spend our money on that, but I personally think this is one of the best ways to spend your early game money on, as it allows you to expand your city like crazy. And all we need to do currently to earn more money is just to order more trees being chopped. That's all. That's the power of a forest environment start, as you can export crazy amounts of wood. But mind you that there is also at some point a saturation in the market. You know, you cannot sell forever stupid amounts of something without the prices dropping. The economy in this game is quite realistic, and therefore it's best to not rely on one export good alone, but we'll be getting there one day soon. So I have now re-enabled auto-employ on the janitors, as I want to see the degradation in the city gone faster. I've been postponing the auto-employment here a little bit, as in the last episodes we had a bit of trouble with the workforce. So the next import depot is done. We are going to be importing here again 50% of our total amount of veg that we want via this way. We also have now the speaker employed. It's a very simple building, just requiring one person, and if you get into the services area, you do see that it does provide a lot of happiness just by deploying one worker here. I'm a little bit sorry that I noticed it that late, but well, Like I said, so many things. Getting back into the technology department, we got here 10 scientists working, and from this point on in the game, it's easy to say and correct to say that whenever you feel like you have workers left that you don't need anymore, it's a wise choice to make them scientists. But like I said in the previous episodes, just be sure about the fact and consider that whoever is scientist should forever stay scientist, because you don't want your science points to ever decay. Now, it'll take a while until fruit and veg are being imported, because there's a traveling time and such. The next thing that I would recommend you to is try to get yourself trade agreements with your other neighbors, even if it does cost you a bit of resource at the beginning. It is so much worth it, as we have now different markets from where we can buy, and we also have different markets towards we can sell. That means we pretty much get the best of all worlds, and we just get the ability to buy stuff cheaper and sell more, buy more. It's just good. Trade is good, is beneficial for all of us. So, money went down a bit. That means there's currently a shipment of something on the way. If you really pay close attention, here it goes. You can also see the traders picking up stuff or bringing stuff from time to time. There will be a trader from outside world sources delivering the goods here to the import depots as well. Kudos to you if you catch him. So currently, as you see here, the food clock is going down again. I guess people will start to get nervous soon, and I personally find it one of the best deals to go towards to in the early game, to just import the food that you require, as it is really easy to export goods that are just regenerating. I would strongly recommend you though to just sell away goods that are regenerating. We are going to work always now to the bakery. So you will find it here in the crafting area. No, refining. Here it is. And the bakery is our first big industry that we're going to build alongside with the carpenter, but this is seriously the first real big industry that we want to go to. So here we need constructions like that. I hope it's good. This is one of the buildings where I constantly struggle to make them well, because yeah, here again, I did it again. So it's actually smarter to make it work like that. You put in the ovens where you want them to. And for starters, we're going to have it like this. 24 employees are really all we need. And then you put in the stabilizers. I am chronically I'm chronically dumb around these corners, but this is, as far as I understand things, really the easiest way to get as many ovens in there as possible. But I still think that I am only doing a mediocre job when it comes down to building design here, so feel free to knock yourself out with super smart constructions. I am just not the kind of person that is capable of getting the most out of these buildings, because I'm just winging it most of the time, basically. Here we go. So this will be a really huge bakery with 48 workers in there. Or if you would optimize it, I'm pretty sure you could get in more workers there. I just want to emphasize at this point, it pays off if your industries are working out like that to just get yourself a big, bad building of every sort you build in the future. Try to make these buildings large, out of the simple reason that you don't need to build another building anytime too soon. You can just clap in new workers and you get the job done. This is much easier rather than making sure that you always have to build a new building whenever you have no people around. That's just my personal train of thought here. So the vegetable has arrived, and so has the fruit. So we have now a constant cycle of ordinaries. We're exporting wood to buy ourselves food, but this is, as costly as it might be, a really nice way of providing a steady food source for your people. It's just a really good way to augment your own production, in my humble opinion. We gain here now a steady income source of that stuff, and this way our people finally should not be worried about the food stockpiles too much anymore. So in Songs of Six, you have really, really a huge freedom of choice when it comes down to the question how you want to resolve your problems that you'll face in the game. This is, in my humble opinion, one of the strongest sides of the game. We can go for whatever kind of industry we want. We can export like crazy. We can try to make everything ourselves. There's just a way for everybody around in the game, and that is what I deeply adore about this game. Now, we do see a steady supply of new immigrants going toward, striving towards our city. This is mostly because our food stockpiles are growing. The import flow is starting to work out, but mind you that this also means that you have to provide a steady source of exports from here on to make sure that your income is still flowing. So we can safely pick up a couple of extra people here. I have a lot of odd jobbers right now, but I also want them at this point, as we have a lot of things that we need to build, and we have a lot of forest to chop down. We can also use a couple of extra carpenters here to get our furniture down faster, as I want to stop importing furniture at some point, but it is one of those necessary evils that you better get yourself through in the early stages of the game. I mean, importing furniture. Producing furniture on your own is a task that is really hard in the early game, as the daily production, as you see here. We gotta say though, Gretonians suck at this task. You see, Species puts down a 50% penalty on the production, sure, but even if you have crafty people in your city, you will still notice at some point that they are just not producing enough fast enough. Especially during the time when you set up your city, you have a insane hunger for furniture on so many ends on the city that personally I find it rather impossible to get the job done by just producing things yourself. That's why I said when I started out, when you were selecting your city, I was emphasizing it so much that you should not settle down in an area where there is nobody around you, where you're isolated and have no trade partners. This is really hard. I mean, it is playable. After all, you just need to know what you need, and then you can do what you need. It's simple as that. But after all, it's better when you already know your way around the game, in my opinion. Now, the bakery does take a darned long time. It also eats up a really huge amount of our resources, and here you can already see the relationship between our export and our own construction endeavors. We have now the problem that we want to export and we want to construct ourselves stuff. So wood is becoming more and more of a high demand good, and that is why I try to have more odd jobbers. We should authorize more people here, so let's do that. But you notice also that the consumption rate of food is going steadily upwards. That is why we are going to import ourselves grain. Grain is amazing, as it is hiding from me. Here, you can convert grain really easily and quickly into food, and the best part about grain is it is really cheap. It's one of the cheapest sources of food. As you see here, fruit and veg is so much more expensive. Veg is somehow stupidly expensive. Seems to be the local economy is not producing enough of that stuff. We though will be producing bread out of that grain. So we're going to import grain now, and we're going to convert it into bread. And after that, we should have absolutely no problems with food anymore. I personally love to focus into the food production and industry that heavily early on, as I personally see it as the most important foundation of your city. Once you have the food situation settled down, pretty much almost nothing can stop you anymore except for outside forces, but usually you can just bribe them off. Now, at this point, I want to use some of my technology points that I've allocated now for some useful things. I want to unlock the stage, which costs 100 knowledge points, and the graveyard. The graveyard and the stage are really low effort, high reward buildings that give you a lot of returns for your investment. The bakery is almost finished, so I decided that we should get ourselves some new projects down. So the stage, as you see here, is also a building that can be sized in differently sized. We're going to start out with a small time stage that just provides place for 4 workers, but with these, as they cost furniture, I'm a little bit more conservative because I don't want to get myself blocked with another sink of furniture. We already have the woodcutter, which is waiting for his furniture. There's plenty of areas of the city where we already need more, so 10 furniture are already enough of a toll on our production, in my humble opinion. Now, we are finishing the bakery, and in a second we will have no workers anymore. You do see, though, that we got grain already flowing in by our imports, so there's nothing that could stop us here. Our wood stockpiles are filling back up again, too. That means exports will be happening soon as well. We're just waiting for that bakery to be finished, and at the same time the woodcutter is also seeing soonish his completion. I also want to point out something that this game is really good at. I have ordered the woodcutter and then the stage, and you see the woodcutter is not receiving any furniture anymore, and the stage is receiving all the furniture. This game has a bias to favor the latest work order most that you've issued, so just keep that at the in your mind. You can utilize that, or you just use the activate and suspend job menu. It's up to you. Just wanted to point that out, that this is actually a thing that I've been running into quite often already. Now then, they took a break from constructing. I hope it's not one of those bugs anymore, again, where they can't reach something anymore and they are not completing the building. Sometimes you people just take a break. It's not necessarily that they are not finishing the task anymore. But yeah, this ain't looking good. So yeah, if that happens, like we know, just press that, and they retake the task. I don't know, this is something that is quite annoying when you don't know how to resolve it, and it's doubly annoying if it happens behind your back, so you don't notice it, but yeah, it's easily resolvable, as you see. Now then, our stage is finished. Boom. Just like that, we have 4 people working here, and they will now provide, again, more services to the city. And we can already see that this is just how things work. I don't need to explain much more, except for one last thing. You can also put up a permission on these services. This isn't so far interesting when you start mixing other species into your city, and you can define which species has access to what kind of service. This is fun, as it allows you to put advantages on some citizens or disadvantages. It's really super good if you want to roleplay and have a diverse culture and all. I really like that. But apart from being fluffy right now, you don't need to work around that. It's really not a must-have. Now, what is a must-have is a graveyard. If you don't put up a graveyard and people die, definitely put up a mass grave somewhere. It is sufficient to put up a mass grave if needed, but as soon as people die, you totally need that. A small one suffices, but you really need, it is a very, very pressing matter. That's all I want to get towards to. So let's put out our graveyard. You can also totally go for more organic shapes. So for something like that, for example. My buildings here are very rectangular. You can build completely different. It's up to you. It's just one of my personal biases. So graveyards. Obviously, they need graves to be functional, and they also have a side attribute called respect. You will require more fluff buildings the more graves you put in there. So be aware of the fact that if you want to make it super if you want to make a super large graveyard, you will need to expand accordingly. So we're just going to expand the graveyard here a little bit for a pathway leading towards here. Putting some pathways there. And just like that, we got ourselves a 100 respect graveyard. And as you see here, it's also not not a project which requires a lot of resource. But we're still gonna suspend it because I want that bakery to be finally done, as it is one of the really, really important things in our city, and the grain is going bad. So we just go in super fast mode for a sec. Don't you dare to go for the same problem here again. And here, that is one of the things. When that happens, we obviously need to remove this here, as this seems to be the culprit here. If you notice that a certain item in your workshop is constantly producing problems like these, it is mandatory that you remove it. So we're gonna be removing one of these huge ovens as well, and I'm gonna be replacing it with a bit of a smaller one. There we go. I hope it'll work out. So it is a pathing problem in this regard. They were just not able to access the last chunks anymore, so they abandoned the task. You can try to give them another try. Sometimes they act smarter than they did in the first place, but you see, sometimes you just need to retake the task. Here, homelessness, we see there and there and there. So we're going to put up a bit more housing here. Control left click to pick it up. Strongly recommend you to use these copy-paste effects as much as you can, as they are really, really easy to put things there. So, alright, so here we have diplomacy, that we are supposed to not trade with somebody anymore. I'm going to accept that, as my military force is absolutely not there, and we don't want to have any trouble with these. It's up to you how you want to go for that, but getting attacked is a really, really nasty thing. So, yeah. I'm quite happy that the bakery got bugged, don't get me wrong, but this is a really good way of showing you what you can do if that happens on your end and you keep wondering what's going on there. So, I don't want to trade, thank you. So they want to re-establish the trade efforts here, but if these guys are hating on me because I am friends with somebody, I really don't want to anymore. So I think I'm going crazy here. So it is obvious that some of these things just, yeah. Now it should work. I really hope so. By the way, if you tap 4 doubly, you get a super fast mode. You jump from 25 speed to 250 speed, just the right thing for pesky subjects like mine here. And now it finally gets done. So I think this is a perfect tutorial about pathing inside buildings and what you can do, can't do, should do, shouldn't do. So I'm happy it happened, but I'm happy it's overdue. Now, we got ourselves now the most hungry industry worker-wise ever. So we cannot put that up like that. Ooh, wait a sec. Where are all my workers now? So the janitor ate up all of workers. So I assume my janitor ate all my workers. See, that is a big problem. Ah, no, the woodcutters are finished. That is sometimes a big problem when something is finished and you don't notice it. So we got here a pack of 10 people waiting, and we are now apprentices. This is the new rank where we are allowed to set up military with a training ground, and we can also imprison people. Most importantly, we have another little happiness bonus and immigration bonus. Really good stuff. Now, let's activate that job and finally start processing that grain, which is just rotting in my storage stockpiles right now. So this industry always requires fuel as well. So we have here yet another industry that'll drain on our wood stockpiles. But at the same time, we produce here 48 pieces of bread per day. We're also consuming a lot of grain here and a lot of wood, but as you see here, this industry is able to churn out food in amounts that is really outright crazy. I don't know if the timers are here correct, if the numbers here are correct or not again, but you can easily just monitor the amount of food which is going in and out in your city. Either way, at this point, when you have managed to establish a steady export of something which you can sell, and a steady import of grain, and a steady influx of fuel, you're nigh unstoppable when it comes down to food production, as this is just so much. All right, 9 bakers produce 18. It goes now a little bit down, but either way, a bakery is insanely effective when it comes down to food conversion. And the best part about it is you can also just research new technologies to amp up the output of these. Where is it at? Crafting, civic, architecture, agriculture, refining. Here, bakeries. You can upgrade your bakeries. And you can also upgrade here. Later down the road, very much later, we can also increase the efficiency on 23 levels. Buildings, pretty much almost all industries by now, can be upgraded. We're going to go over these mechanisms soon, but not this episode. I guess next episode we'll see that when we're starting to upgrade and invest some more research points, as we are now at the point where we can freely decide for ourselves what we want to do with our city, as we have now no longer the pressing matter of starvations, as this is just not going to happen anymore. We are also going to import fruit now at a 100% rate. Veg I don't want to, as it is way too costly. But with such cheap prices on the fruit market, we're eager to import more of that stuff. At the same time, our food industries are now cranking out the bread, which will again increase the happiness of our people. As you see here, our food preference bar, the one that was very low at the beginning of the episode, is now getting closer to 100%. Whatever species you play in your playthrough, you should really totally check out that you get their preferred food into town. Everybody has different preferences, and if you are not able to produce it yourself, it's really one God's end solution to import it. But as you see here, for example, the prices here on veg are insane. It's not necessary that in your city that you're playing, the prices will be the same. It could be in your city also very much the case that fruit is insanely costly. Whatever. It is the economy around you is reflecting the cities around you, and the game is very detailed, like I said many times before. Now, the graveyard has been finished. One important point about the graveyard is that this has to be always available. There have to be always available graves. The moment the availability of graves drops to 0, your people will go crazy, and in their understanding there will be no graveyard for them if they die, and everybody is afraid, what happens if I die tomorrow? And then they go unhappy super fast. That means as soon as you start providing these services, make sure that you always have enough graves available, otherwise people will really go crazy on you. And I'm speaking out of experience. I don't know if this has been nerfed over the course of the time. This has been enough of an effect to put cities into entire riots. Anyways, we are at a really, really good spot for today to leave the game. As you see, people are getting happier and happier. More and more people want to move into town. We have a really, really golden age up ahead of us. Next episode, I will dive deeper into the science tree. We're going to go over more sophisticated and advanced things to do in your city, and I hope you're going to be with me. Drop me your comments, leave me a thumbs up, consider a subscription, and check out the description box. You'll find a playlist link there to the entirety of the tutorial series, so you can just watch them one after another. And of course, I'd be super happy if you'd also give Patreon, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee a look, as these are the best ways to support this channel. And a big, big thanks to everybody supporting the channel. You guys are making this all possible, and I'm really super happy providing these videos for you. And a big, big thanks to you watching this video, because without you, it would be entirely worthless. So thanks for being around. I hope you had a good time. See you next time. Bye bye.